Welcome to the Transform from Within podcast with your host, Marilia Nobrega. I went from being an over dieter struggling to lose weight to becoming a mindful eater that can eat what she wants and still lose weight. My purpose is to empower women to step into the highest, most authentic versions of themselves so they can lose weight with ease. Learn how to design your authentic body and lose the weight you want without giving up on the food you love, by removing any blocks and limiting beliefs that are standing your way. And that's how you transform from within. Welcome to the Transform from Within podcast. I'm your host, Marilia, and this is our first episode. Today, we'll be talking about what overeating has taught me. And I'm also recording this episode for anyone listening. You can, if you want to see my face, if you want to see me talking, you can go and head over to YouTube or click the link down below in the show notes to watch it. I'll be posting and recording all podcast episodes. So, where do I start? First of all, I'm super tired today. And I don't know why. I just think I'm vitamin D deficient. I've started doing the bean protocol, and they recommend you not taking any supplements. So I also stopped taking my vitamin D supplements. I don't know if it was a good idea. We'll see. But I also think I'm not doing this really good. Oh my God, I even have my food here on the table. Excuse me. Very unprofessional. But anyway, this is my first podcast episode. I've been trying to record this so many times. I started recording this same podcast 4 or 5 weeks ago in the Philippines, but I didn't have enough storage on my phone. So I recorded 3 times for nothing. And then I recorded, and you could hear the birds and the chickens everywhere, super loud. So now, hopefully, with this microphone and the headphones, you have really good audio quality. And this is the goal, to make it enjoyable for you to listen. So the goal of this podcast is basically to share my lessons and mistakes that I go through while transitioning from being a hard dieter to become a mindful eater. This is the goal. And I will be sharing more of my story in the next episode on how everything started, all the negative self-image that I had, how it came from, all the blocks that I had that was blocking my weight loss or making it easy for me to love myself, and all the things that came from this low self-worth and self-love behavior that I had with myself. It's always connected to something with men in particular, especially. So, in this podcast episode, the first one, I want to share what overeating has taught me, because since I started transitioning from becoming a mindful eater, the goal is to eat intuitively. And that's also what I share or what I teach inside my program, Transform from Within. And for those of you who don't know, my program, don't follow me on Instagram. It's basically a 10-week weight loss program where we go deep into the subconscious and we work on removing the root cause that's blocking your weight loss, so you can lose weight consistently without having to do a crash diet and then stay stuck in the yo-yo cycle. The yo-yo cycle is where you lose and gain weight over and over again, and you can get out of the cycle. So, and our goal in Transform from Within is to make weight loss fun and easy, because it's pretty simple, right? You just need to eat less than what you burn, but doing it is not that easy. We all tend to self-sabotage our progress for some reason, and if you don't know why you keep self-sabotaging, the only reason for you is that you're lazy, you don't have enough willpower, you're not disciplined enough, or you don't want it bad enough. But it's not the case. You have some programming in your subconscious that you're not aware of, and that's why you can't stay consistent, because something keeps blocking you from actually doing it, actually staying consistent. Maybe it's your identity, maybe it's childhood trauma, maybe it's shadow. It could be anything. So we need to dig deep and find out what it is. And we do that with meditations. I've started meditating, I don't know, 2019, yeah, 2019 when I went to Thailand. That was the time when I started meditating. And I could really see that when I'm still, my higher self and my intuition opens up and I can listen so clearly what I need and what I want. So in our meditations, it's kind of a hypnosis. We go deep into the subconscious to find out the root cause for your blocks, why you're not losing weight. Why do you even want to lose weight? Of course, it could be that you just want to look good, but there's always a deeper reason for that. And when we find out what the deeper reason is, it gets easier to really get to your authentic body and not just lose weight to impress a man or to lose weight because your parents told you that you should lose weight. So now let's start with the podcast episode. Okay. Basically, a few days ago, so let me start it. A few days ago, I overate, even though I'm doing the mindful eating journey, which means eating intuitively, which means listening to my body, listening to my hunger, eating when I'm hungry, and also stopping when I'm satisfied. But sometimes I don't do this. I eat because maybe I'm not being mindful while eating, because I'm distracted, because I'm talking to someone. Could be many reasons for why. And then I just tend to overeat. So when we overeat, there's always something behind it. Why do we overeat? It could be that we want to feel a certain emotion. That's why we eat something, and we overeat because it just makes us feel certain. It makes us feel a certain way. We, even though it's not a good feeling because we are bloated and stuff, it makes us feel safe because we have been doing this for many years or days or months. I don't know. It's different for everyone. So it just feels safe for us. And that's why sometimes we just do this. So for me, I had to dig deep and find out what blocks I had to release. So most of the time it goes back to childhood and or shadow. And for me, what I realized was blocking me, why I still tend to overeat sometimes is, so I'm from Brazil. I was born in Brazil and I grew up there until I was 10, and then I came to Germany with my mom. And the first few years in Brazil, it was really hard and rough for my mom and I because she got me when she was 19, pretty young, and she was a single mom. I don't even know my dad. I saw him once in my life, and no one was supporting or helping her out. Most of the family members, I have a huge family. So my grandmother has 11 siblings, and most of them were shading her and saying, like, what a bitch she is. Like, she had sex at this age and now a kid. No one was supporting her financially or with the rooftop. And sometimes we even, I still remember that sometimes we wouldn't even have something to eat, and I had to go secretly to my grandmother's kitchen and get some eggs so I can have breakfast. And one day my grandmother caught me, and she was really, really angry at my mom because she sent me there so I can have something to eat. Also, sometimes we wouldn't have toilet paper and we would have to clean our butt with, it was like magazine paper. And I never really realized what was going on at the time until I started doing work internally with myself and inner child work. and shadow work, that's when I realized, wow, okay, I never knew what's going on because I was so young. So for me, I had in my mind, we used to be poor, so we don't throw food away. Food is it's very important for us to survive. Not everyone can have food. And my mom always used to say, we don't throw food away. I need to finish my plate. I cannot stand up until I'm done eating. So for me, it's normal. It was normal to be like, okay, whatever I have on my plate, whatever I cook, I have to eat. I have to finish. I cannot throw food away. So that was the programming that I had. And of course, it can be a good thing, but thinking about the fact that it's my body and my body's not a bin, and just because I'm not saying that just because you can afford food, you should be throwing food away. What I do is I cook, but if I'm done eating and I feel like my body's satisfied, I don't force myself to continue eating this. I just put the rest in the fridge, I let it there, and then I stop for like 30, 40 minutes. And then when I feel that my hunger might be coming again, I continue eating. So I really had to tell myself that it's okay to not finish the plate because I'm not poor anymore. And that was the programming that I had, that I cannot throw food away. I need to finish everything because that was the only thing that I knew. So at a very, very young age, I also developed bad eating habits and negative self image. And I'll go deeper in that in the next episode. But I had so many dieting rules that I didn't even know that I had. It was so deep in my subconscious. And I don't even know. I think because I'm from Brazil, so in Brazil everything is like you have to have a nice body, right? I think most people know that. So it's the culture of the body, and I always got told I need to look a certain way. So for me, it was like, okay, I need to compensate that with food for me to look a certain way. So when I was 12, I started developing a lot of dieting rules for myself. And just to name you a few, it was like I couldn't have anything sweet, no salt, because I was like, okay, if I have salt, I'm gonna get cellulite. No oil. Like I was cooking my chicken in water because oil has a lot of calories. Not leaving food on a plate. That was the thing that I had in my mind. And then eating every 3 hours to save my muscles. No bad food. And bad food for me was everything that's white is bad. Everything that's processed is bad. And I was even dividing my carbs and protein perfectly at each meal. I had a strict meal plan, and I've tried every type of diet out there that you can imagine. The keto diet, cutting calories, if it fits my macro, carb cycling. I don't even know what else, but I've tried everything. And of course, like restrictions. And then every Sunday, I would plan a binging day, which was my cheat day. Why restrict the whole week and then allow myself to have everything for one day? Okay, anyway. So my relationship started to get really, really bad with food. So I would have those phases when I started doing bodybuilding, I think by the age of 16, 17. So I started with the gym when I was 14, but I started doing bodybuilding when I was 16 or 17. So I was going into bodybuilding specific. And then I would have the phase of dieting and then the phase of bulking. So dieting during like spring, I would start dieting, and then after summer, it was bulking phase. And when I was dieting, I would feel hungry all the time. That was completely normal. I would struggle and I would have constant thoughts around food. And I could never eat without knowing how many calories was in the food. Never, never, ever. I always had to track everything because it would make me so anxious thinking about not knowing what's in my body, not having the control around my body, because I was so scared to gain weight. And I will come to the story why I was so scared. So there was something that happened in the past that made me think that if I don't have control over my food, I'll be overweight. So I'll be talking about that in the next episode. Like training with no energy was completely normal for me, right? When you diet, if you're a dieter, you know that you are in a bad mood the whole day. You don't have energy for anything. You're constantly thinking about food. You're eating and already thinking about the next food. And when I was bulking, overeating was normal. Being bloated was normal because I had to grow muscles. I had to save my muscles. So eat as much as possible so I don't waste any muscles from not growing. And of course, that so many so many effects on my life, like on family events. If I didn't know what they will have to eat for food, I would always cook my own food, or I would just even eat at home. So if I'm there, I wouldn't feel like eating anything that is unhealthy, that has salt, oil, sugar, anything, everything that I forbid myself. And I lost complete sense of satisfaction. I would eat sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I would eat until throwing up just to get the calories in because it was super important. And yeah, like really bad eating habits. I didn't know what hunger felt like because I was eating out of just for the sake of eating, just for the sake for saving my muscles. And I didn't know that we have such a thing called hunger and satisfaction, because I had the amount of calories that I had to eat, and that was it. So that was my goal for the day. It's not, I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat now and listen to my body, what my body's craving. No, I have this amount of protein, carbs, and fat. I have to eat that. And man, I sacrificed so much in my young ages just to look a certain way because I thought that's the only way to feel lovable and to be accepted from everyone. Yeah, and then at some point, actually a few months ago, I think I have to sneeze now. Okay, I'm back. So a few months ago, I started eating mindfully because I was like, okay, I'm done with that. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to live like this. I don't want to sacrifice anymore. I just want to have a normal life. I don't want to be thinking about food all the time. I just want to live. I want to go on vacation and not think about if I'm eating too much or if I'm not eating enough protein. I just want to be somewhere and not think about that. I just want to be in the present moment. And if I'm not hungry, I don't want to eat because I have to, because I still have calories open. I don't want that anymore. So through Sarah's Day, which is a YouTuber, I'm gonna link her down below. She always talks about, I listen to my body, I don't count calories. If I'm feeling like having nuts, she loves having nuts. She eats a lot of nuts. And like, I'm like, what? How is that even possible that you can listen to your body and it couldn't go into my mind. How do you know how many protein you have, and what about eating not too much so you don't gain weight? Because if there's no limit for me, I think I would overeat all the time because I don't know, I never knew what hunger felt like, what satisfaction felt like. For me it was completely normal to be full from the moment you have your first meal until you go to sleep, like you're full for the whole day. That's the only thing that I knew for many years. So I started doing that. I was like, okay, I have to trust my body. And my body does so much for me, so many things that I'm not aware of. I should trust my body that it can also send me the right signals when it actually needs something, and also tell me when it's done because it doesn't need the energy anymore. And the moment I started seeing my hunger feeling as my body sending me the signal that it needs energy to do the things that I'm doing throughout the day, I saw this as something really, really important that I had to do. So, oh man, it was so hard at the beginning to eat and be like, okay, am I satisfied now? I don't know. So, of course, I would tend to overeat many times while starting that journey. And I still remember the first time that I ate and I left food on the plate because I was satisfied. It was mind blowing. This feeling when you're like, oh my God, I think this is how satisfaction feels like, and I think I don't need more, is one thing. But then also doing that is another thing. And this is the hardest part. I don't know why. I think I was having like FOMO, fear of missing out, because the food was tasting so good. So I just wanted to continue eating. And I think many people feel that way. And I started feeling my satisfaction, but I still wouldn't stop eating at the point that I was satisfied. So still overeating. And then one day I was having my oats with fruits and chia seeds. Chia seeds. I was eating that slowly, mindfully, and we have a whole process inside Transform from Within on how to eat intuitively. So it's like a 4 principle. So I was eating mindful, and at some point I was like, oh my God, okay, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied. I'm getting goosebumps right now because I'm remembering the feelings so intense now. And I was like, oh my God, okay, I could stop now, right? This is the moment to stop. So how will this feel like stopping? Because I used to not stop, right? So I had to remind myself that my body doesn't need anymore, and how great would it feel to actually stop now and just feel how it feels like to stop when you're satisfied, what your body feels like. Because I didn't have that for many years. I didn't know how it felt like. I was always bloated and stuffed and almost throwing up all the time. So I was like, okay. I took this spoon out of my mouth and I was like, okay, I still have food on the plate. That's okay. I can put this in the fridge. There's nothing to worry about. Now no one will get mad at me for not eating the whole plate. So I will put this in the fridge, and later when I'm hungry again, I'm gonna eat the rest. So I had to take myself out of the house actually to go through that and not feel like, no, let me finish the food. So I went out and was in Bali at this time, and I went out and I went to the beach on a walk, and it felt so different because every day I go on a walk and I was always so full. And when you're on the beach, so I had a bikini on and shorts, I would always suck my belly in. And this time I didn't feel like I didn't have to suck my belly in because it wasn't bloated. And I couldn't believe it. My body was releasing so much dopamine at this moment because I was so happy, and I could like dopamine is the reward hormone. My body was rewarding me for not eating everything and stopping when I was satisfied. And wow, I felt so good. I felt so different. And from that day on, I was like, okay, this is exactly how I want to feel like every time I eat. This is the feeling that I need, like being able to walk without having to suck my belly in, breathing normally, not being bloated. Oh my God, what a quality of life. And that reminded me that that was my normal state that I didn't have for the past 10 years. It was incredible. So after that, I I try to always stop when I'm satisfied. Of course, sometimes I still have this block in my mind that I'm still working on releasing, and that's the good thing about doing the work. You're constantly working, and I'm not saying And I also don't want you guys to think that just because I have a weight loss program teaching that I'm over with doing the work. No, I still do the work myself, because this programming was in my subconscious for the past, I don't know, 20 years. So of course I won't remove it completely in a few months or years. So the more you do the work, the faster you release it. And depending on how deep that programming is, the faster or the longer it will take for you to remove it. But that's okay, because it's completely fine. I'm completely fine with my state right now, even if sometimes I tend to overeat, even if sometimes I eat because I'm bored and I'm just trying to procrastinate. I'm still better than where I used to be 2 years ago, or even like 5 years ago, where it was like really, really bad with the dieting rules and the negative self image. So, lessons that I learned from that day in particular, is that I never want to feel like that again, like being bloated and not being able to stand up, because every time that I would eat, I had to open my pants, and I had to lay down because I was I was so bloated, and it hurt a lot. That's like because I was eating so much at once and I couldn't finish the plate. And I also don't ever want to treat my body like this again, because my body is my temple. I live here. If I'm not treating my body good, I'm not treating myself good. And my body needs to feel good for me to feel good. And if I'm not treating my body the way it needs to be treated, I'm gonna feel like shit. I know that. I know, because that was the state that I was living in for the past 10 years. And I'm done living like that. My body's my temple, and I want to give everything that I can to make my body and myself feel good. And I want to feel good about my food. I love eating. It makes me feel really, really good when I know that I'm nourishing my body with good food, and also when I am giving my body the food that it wants when it actually wants something, and also stopping eating when my body's like, okay, I'm done, I've had everything that I wanted, I'm done, I don't need more. And then listening to my body and being like, okay, thank you, food, I'm coming over to you in a few hours again when I'm feeling like I need you again. And my body really deserves to feel loved and cared about. And also, your body deserves to feel loved and cared about. Our body's not a bin. I had to learn that the hard way. I also gained a lot of weight from doing that, especially after, no, during COVID, because I wasn't training as much or as hard anymore. I was doing like basic home workouts, not the same as I was doing at the gym, which was bodybuilding, heavy lifting. So I was still eating the same amount. My body wasn't asking for that, but I didn't know anything else. I didn't have a limit, so I would just eat what I knew to eat, or the amount that I thought I had to eat. And of course, I started gaining weight because I wasn't burning that much. My body wasn't asking for food. I wasn't listening to my signals that my body was sending me because I didn't know I had them. So I ended up gaining a lot of weight. And I challenge you now to eat mindfully on your next meal. And that means no distractions, taking breaks between bite, putting the fork or the spoon down after each bite, and asking yourself, how does your stomach feel? Is it expanding? Is it closing? And also, before you eat, are you actually hungry? Is your body asking for food, or are you trying to compensate food with an emotion? And then it will be emotional eating. And I'll come back to that in another episode. But that's my story on what overeating has taught me. That basically my body is a temple. I need to treat my body good, otherwise, I don't feel good myself. And food is there to nourish my body and not to make me suffer. It shouldn't feel like suffering when you eat. And you also shouldn't suffer when you don't eat because you're afraid of eating. But that's a topic for another episode. And I think that's it for the first episode of the Transform from Within podcast. It was really fun to record that. If you guys have any question, please send me a DM over on Instagram at marilianobrega.co.com, and I would love to come back to you and see if I can take any of those questions and make a podcast episode around that topic, and also go specific into the problem that you guys are having, to take that as an example and see what blockages, what's the problem behind your weight loss problem, why you can stay consistent with your weight loss, what's blocking your weight loss. So basically taking you and your problem to go through a whole process on how you would need to unblock and become your authentic self, so you can become and get your authentic body. And yeah, I think that would be a really good idea. So you have basically a coaching session over a podcast. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, for listening, and I see you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. In case you're not ready to join our program Transform from Within yet, we have free offerings that gives you a starting point into your weight loss journey. One of our free offerings is our mini course called Secrets for Weight Loss. In it, we demystify the old weight loss process that we learn on the internet, and you get to try our magnetic meditations that work on the subconscious to remove any blocks and reprogram your beliefs. The second free offering is our webinar about manifesting your authentic body. You'll learn about the science behind the work, get a workbook, and the step-by-step process we use in our paid program Transform from Within to help over-dieted women lose weight consistently without restrictions, dieting, or hours of cardio. Choose whatever offering you feel most called to do. They are all linked in the show notes. I can't wait to see you transform and manifest the body and life of your dreams.